everyone. My name's Joel.
And I'm Nicole.
We are back to talk about media literacy. Nicole,
Yes, Joel.
what's media literacy?
Well, media literacy is being able to understand all of the media that we're consuming around us. So the TV shows we're watching, the websites that we're interacting with, the information in books, billboards, advertisements that are out there on bus stands. What other kinds of media are there? There's so many.
Oh, like YouTube ads, banners on websites,
all that
like
social
media, 100%. We could even talk about maybe some, like the billboards, those signs outside restaurants that tell you what you're getting from them. But when we talk about media literacy, we're talking about that ability to be critical about what we're seeing. So we're talking about looking beyond just the message to more like the intent and the meaning behind it. We're going to unpack this a little bit later, but really, who is making it? Why are they making it? And then how does that affect me?
So really, we need to be critical consumers of all of the media that we take in. And so that's what media literacy is knowing how to do that and how to be a critical consumer.
So looking beyond the surface, why am I looking at this? Usually there are four big reasons. The first one, we're going to see things that are informing us. So sometimes we get things in our social media, or we see books or magazines, and their role is to give us information. It's to increase our understanding of a topic or an event.
Also like the news or the weather apps or anything out there like that, because they're meant to inform you about what the weather's going to be like, which is then going to inform how you dress and how you're going to, if you're going to pack extra water in your vehicle if you're going through a desert and the temperatures are going to be 50.
Yeah,
they're not
or like what route to take even, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But they can also be to entertain us. So sometimes I know some of my favorite things to watch are not informing me of anything, but they are giving me a bellyache for how much I am laughing.
Absolutely.
We also have the content that's made to persuade us. So maybe it's to, give us like a controversial topic, and it's trying to get us to wrap our heads around it and to come up with a side. And then, of course, there's also that persuasive piece to buy something. So if we're, being shown how delicious that new burger is, or if we're looking at the newish style of fashion, then we have the ability to, be influenced in order to make that purchase.
So we do see the to inform and to entertain in Netflix, for example, where there might be documentaries that are informing us, but also we will see the, what's the show that you're watching right now?
Night Agent?
Night Agent. My husband's watching that too. He's watching that to be entertained. And then, of course, we see a lot of the persuasion pieces in even in the political realm, right? That's where we see a lot of different headlines that you may find on newspaper articles. So the same image, but two different headlines in there, trying to persuade you of somebody's perspective. Because that's kind of what happens a lot in our news agencies. And then another thing with the selling you something, you've talked about clothes and the different trends and the, hype beast shoes, but also even makeup, right? And different facial products, to help make your skin so clear and smooth. And so they do that intentionally, whether it's through TikTok or Instagram or whatever it might be, to help really persuade you to purchase something.
And jumping into that idea of TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, we don't have those like commercial breaks where, in every 8 minutes in a show, we're going to get 2 minutes of these advertisers putting their marketing campaigns to work. Instead, what we're going to see is that more sneaky kind of embedded advertising, where the algorithms are going to be kind of stitching in those ads throughout our For You page or our feeds.
Well, what is an algorithm?
Great question. He's my friend. Algorithm. Thank you. But for real, an algorithm is really just about a set of instructions. So when we are coding in class, we are creating algorithms for our robots to follow the line or to stop them from bumping into a wall. But when we get into that social media space, it's a much more kind of targeted approach to those computers the programs that are tracking how long we're spending on each of our feeds, each kind of post.
Maybe advertisements on there.
Definitely. Also, what are the other kind of places that we're going to on our device while we're on our social media? Who are we spending time with? All of those things kind of get compiled. We get a profile created, and then that algorithm is going to feed us the type of content that's going to keep us on that device, right?
So if you do like a search in Google Chrome, that all of a sudden will turn into likely an advertisement on your Instagram.
Totally. When my cats wouldn't stop peeing on the floor, all of a sudden it was all about different types of cat litter. And I was just like, what is this? How did you know?
And that was to convince you to buy something, right? So
there's
the purpose behind it. A dog.
Thank you. But our time on those social media platforms means the more that they can keep us on our device, the more ads they can show us, the more opportunity they have to put those products in place and have our attention right on them.
But a lot of times too, you talk about the content that you engage with gets a boost to the top, right? So if you see something that's kind of shocking and you click on it, it could definitely be fake news, but all of a sudden you're going to end up with a lot of that content as well, because those algorithms are pulling that, well, you know what, they clicked on this and they spent 30 seconds on here, and so we're just going to feed more of this into their feed.
Absolutely. And there is no sort of expectation that these places are coming from a reliable source, and that their role or their purpose is to inform us. Most of the time that purpose is a little bit more towards either the entertain or the persuade. And so just being aware of these pieces, that there's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of divisive content that's going to get boosted up because of how much people are engaging with it. We talked about those Connor McDavid AI generated videos. If you know Connor McDavid, you know he's not going to spend his time talking trash about his teammates.
No, never.
But at the same time, that kind of fake news, that divisive content is very shocking, can be very exciting to watch. So therefore that content gets boosted, which then feeds into your algorithm, which then feeds into that whole kind of keeping your eyes on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do we spot it though?
Well, we know that there's a lot of misleading information out there, which means that there's false information. And so we talk about, I was giving Joel this example earlier, my daughter, who is 18 now, of course, is obsessed with all of those facial products. And so on TikTok, on Instagram, she's constantly getting all these advertisements for this product, that product. So now all of a sudden, any money that she makes, number one, she's spending on, but she had this beautiful clear skin. And these products that say like, oh, look how beautiful your skin is. Well, a lot of that is just filters on top to make that person's skin look amazing. And so it can be really misleading, which then causes people to buy it, and then it's not a great choice for their skin type, and they end up breaking out maybe in acne or something like that, or getting a chemical burn on their face. So a lot of information out there looks like it's this amazing thing, but it's been filtered, and so that can be very misleading.
Totally. And there is a difference between misinformation, where it's just, it's the wrong information out there, and then the disinformation that is actually like pushed out and is deliberately shared to manipulate the opinion.
And that happens in the political realm all the time.
Yeah. And it's all about, convincing people in the short term that what you are presenting is the truth. And to me, that's really the sneakiest kind of type of that kind of fake news, is where you've got someone who is trusted, a politician, some sort of leader, a celebrity, absolutely, influencers, my goodness, YouTubers, and they're putting out this information to people who believe what they're saying is true. And so that deliberate attempt to manipulate and to misinform is one of the main kind of drivers for me of why media literacy is so important, because it's easier and easier to fall prey to.
Absolutely. And so this is where it's really important for you to check your sources. So that means click down to the bottom, see who the author of that site is, of that advertisement, all of those pieces, and dig a little bit deeper. Don't just go into that one layer, go a couple layers in. Do a Google search, get a bunch of different articles or things and start researching, right? And then, of course, you have checking dates as well, because a lot of that information is, I keep seeing this one with all of our politicians, oh, they didn't know that the camera was still on. And it's the same kind of scam, I guess I'm going to call it, right? That is now out on social media and says, oh, repost this, and it's not true for any of them. So it's quite amazing. So making sure that you check those dates, and then you kind of stay in that loop of being informed and seeing what's out there. Because lots of times we also put our head in the sand.
Yeah. So just before we get here, ask an adult, right?
Yes.
The other piece is that, the adults in your life, they've had a lot more experience with these different types of misinformation, disinformation. And so going to them with what you found or with what you have, the sources that you're using, asking them for their feedback, whether it be a teacher, an older sibling, or a parent or guardian, having that opportunity to kind of like ask questions and share comments is a huge part of clearing up that misinformation and disinformation space. But in reality, like the young people get so much of their information and their kind of life advice from social media. So when we talk about looking at how this shapes our worldview, we need to make sure that the media that we are consuming is accurately representing people from all different walks of life. We realize that when we just consume one type of media all the time from one source, we can really fall into the situation where stereotypes are being what's that word? Where this
switched out, being promoted.
Promoted, sure. Something we'll come back to it.
We'll come back to
but
it.
That idea of only seeing one person's perspective.
Right.
And that's not really the way that we want to be rounding ourselves, because this world is becoming so much more connected. We want to make sure that we're able to embrace and understand and kind of appreciate the different people that we have in the world.
Absolutely. And you gave that example of how teens are portrayed in movies, right?
Yeah, like hood up, on their phone, AirPods in, while there are people around them are trying to talk to them. And like that's only like 99% of teens, right?
That is a stereotypical comment.
That is.
Right.
It truly is.
So how media shapes our worldview is really important. And so knowing that everything out there isn't really how people might be.
And as we talked about with social media, when we're in those influencers using a product or unboxing something and being like, oh my gosh, this is what I've always wanted, a lot of those times those influencers are being paid as a marketing ploy to get you to kind of connect emotionally to that product. If someone like eyeballing Nicole on YouTube, oh my gosh, she's got the best stuff, always makes great suggestions, only talks about the top products, anything that Nicole is going to show me is going to be something that I just immediately assume is going to be the best.
Well, and even you get people that will reach out to you on social media saying, oh, I really like what you have in your feed. You have one picture up. And that's also like just a safety hazard as well, to be aware that lots of people, what do they call that? Like phishing, right? To get more information. So just be aware of that as well on the side of that, because that is a piece of that media literacy, is knowing what is phishing and what is not.
Absolutely. So what can we do? Number one, fact check. Make sure that where you're getting your information from, you go ahead and you just make sure somebody else is kind of on the same page.
100%.
Be a critical consumer. Allow yourself the opportunity to think, is this real? What do I already know about this? I showed my 9-year-old son, Johnny, that video of one of the AI videos of Connor McDavid. He immediately could tell that it was fake because he knows that Connor McDavid wouldn't do that.
No, he always lifts his team members up.
That's right, as good leaders do. And so being critical of what we're consuming, thinking more about what's the intent behind it, who's making it, who's being shown in it, who's not being shown in it, all of these types of questions can lead you to a more rounded view of what that content really is.
But also noting too, Joel, that we don't always only consume. Sometimes we also contribute. And so also critically thinking before you contribute anything, because that's part of your media habits and your media literacy as well.
Be a critical contributor.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and if something makes you angry, it could be designed that way.
That's right.
Right? So you have that piece. And that's true because there's different graphics, different text, different like sound effects and music that might be added to an advertisement, to a movie, whatever it is. They're all trying to elicit some type of response from you, some type of emotion. So, sometimes if something does make you angry, that can just be the intent of it. And so also don't let it have that power.
So what power you do want to have, though, is media literacy. So understanding media makes you a smarter consumer and contributor. Spotting bias, misinformation, and persuasion is going to let you kind of pull back that curtain, maybe hold on to your emotions a little bit closer because you can connect to the idea that that's the goal. And again, you control what you believe and share. So if you feel like, this is the wrong information, either post about that, how you believe or how this is not true, or, try to or don't post, right?
Try
don't
to deflate it, right? Try to I guess, deflate is the right word.
Yeah. So for teachers, in grade 7, we're going to be looking at how is media constructed. In grade 8, we're talking about finding that credible news. And then in grade 9, this just in, how is breaking news and social media, how can they kind of inflate each other and also maybe confuse each other?
Oh, absolutely.
So thank you for watching this month. We will see you back in April.
See you. Thank you.